Well, it's fascinating, but let's call the fire board meeting of January 16th to order. You stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the roll call, please.
Aldrich.
Here.
Beckman.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
Purslane.
Here.
Phelps. Absent. Notice. Pullen.
Here.
And North is also absent. Notice.
Okay, please turn off your cell phones. And don't text during the meeting as it's against the Open Meetings Act. Could I have approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for January 16th, 2023, 4 p.m.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Pullen and support by Beckman to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes. Could I have a motion to approve the December 19th minutes?
I'll make that motion. Approve the minutes from the December 19th, 2022.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Fox and a second by Pullen. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have public comment on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Everybody in the peanut gallery. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Can I have a motion to pay the accounts payable?
Yeah, we can do it without Scott. Just check.
Read the numbers, somebody.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the, account payable of $176, $185 and 68 cents.
Wait a minute. Is that?
No, right here.
Oh, we're on that one? Okay,
I
gotcha.
will check this one.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Beckman, second by Pullen to approve the accounts payable. Is there any discussion? We don't have Peter, so.
I do have two, but I think Greg can answer them.
Okay.
Just whenever I see $11,000 for portable radios, I kind of question.
Yeah, some of those could have been on behalf of Hamilton Fire, Chris.
It does say.
All of that was.
Right. So we use our group purchasing, we purchase them, and then he gives us a check for it.
Oh,
Makes
okay.
sense.
And
That's 2 radios,
Yeah.
what?
Holy.
That's crazy.
just so you know.
Are the insurances like workman's comp at $12,000, are they once a year, or is that an annual, or how often is that?
I'm sorry,
The workers' comp, how often is that paid?
There's an adjustment, so you pay the rate, you pay the fee once per year.
Okay.
However, when they audit the payroll,
Yeah.
which was up, then we had another payment.
Okay.
Good
Oh,
question.
once a year, that's what I thought.
And
I didn't remember.
I got one more, priority help, 2 of them right in a row for $4,400 and $4,700.
That one I'll have to reach out to Peter.
Well, it just always makes me nervous when you have 2 charges right next to each other, extremely close in numbers.
Yep, yes, I see what you mean.
And
I
I'm
don't
not-
know the answer to that, because they, they don't even come to me.
Mhm.
They go right to Peter, which I have that with some of the utilities too, and I don't particularly care for it. I'll find out.
Well, we could probably look at this and see the expenditure report and see if it's way over for insurance. So
I think we're at
employee-
63%.
That's fine, I mean,
It's two separate payments, and I'm paid 7 of 55, but I don't know, because I didn't get the, not sure.
I'll ask you. All right. Do we have a roll call, or is there another discussion? we have a roll call vote,
Madam Chair,
please?
the chart vote for responder.
Beckman?
Yes.
Pullman?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Stock?
Thank you.
Yes.
And Rickland.
Yes.
Did somebody make the
Passes 5-0, Madam Chair.
It's the motion
Short-term
with,
memory
without
loss.
Scott. Come on, Dan, Scott wasn't here.
I know.
Very quick on the ball.
I know, it's all-
I usually pick up
Out
first,
of
yeah.
sync.
Okay, moving on, we won't have a financial report, because we don't have Peter, so. Moving on, fire chief's comments.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm gonna defer the incident reports down to new business under 11A, if that's okay with you. Community risk reduction, Department of Fire Prevention, on page, I think it's 14 of 55. We've got, Chris, if you don't mind, it's the one right, yeah. I guess what's notable about this for the year-end figures, what is good is, the two big columns, the green one, 43, plan review hours, it just shows, and then what I really like to see, that tall column, the last one to the right is fire prevention educational hours, at 37, so that's what we like to see, that one, a tall, prominent document, so. Then the next one would be the following page on Michigan fire fatal statistics. And you can see what's notable there is the amount of deaths. Certainly is always a shame to report over 100 deaths. Time of the day, at night, 62% of the calls are at night for fires. Smoking, we just talked about that, the leading cause. And the origin is the living room. It's not the kitchen, as some people seem to think. So it follows a matrix that is typical age group males. So just kind of interesting to see the demographics of how this plays out on older people. How many are involved with oxygen? It's all broken down.
Do they report or give you geography for this? No.
There, you can actually look on a website and they'll pin
Yeah,
where the
so-
deaths are. Like, you know, the big ones are Detroit, up there, over there, I should say.
Is that 111 total deaths for the year, is that up or down from last year? Is it the same?
Actually, we got, and couldn't even open it today, there was an update because sometimes, somebody dies. So that's increased, I think. Isn't it 116?
So it was actually 132 people died in 113 fires, so there must have been some unreported data between the last week of the year or something.
There you go.
And that is a 23% increase in
Wow.
fatalities and 20% in fires, versus the 2021 average.
So it's up.
Yes.
That just came in today.
It's like an hour ago or less.
Huh.
It's almost
So-
alarming,
Could you?
Yes.
that much more.
So, because pot has become legal, is it that people are smoking more pot now and?
There's no
enjoying it
indication,
less?
no indication on that yet. Now, we don't know if this smoking is cigarette, that, I don't know if they've broken that down
I
yet.
don't believe so.
Or can,
So they can be smoking pot or just regular cigarettes, and that's all
And that's
part
a
of
good
that.
question.
well, it's interesting if the pot, making marijuana legal, if that adds to this.
I think that's
I bet it
something we
does.
need, the state
I bet it
needs to
does.
look at in their statistical basis. How are they gonna decipher this? Because I personally, professionally feel this is, it's not even conceivable to me to have 40-60% of the fires caused by cigarette smoking.
Yeah, when so many people are not smoking
Yeah.
anymore, but a lot of those who are not smoking are doing pot.
Well, we don't know.
So,
But it's a good question, but we can reach out, that's for sure.
What does unknown mean in alarm status in home?
It means that they didn't check a box, that whoever responded to the fire didn't know if there were working smoke alarms or not. In some cases, it's too hard to determine, or they were unsure at the time of the report, so they just filled it out, sent it in without it being complete.
And that's a big number, though.
Yeah.
I mean, and isn't it a law to have smoke alarms in new houses?
Yeah, it has been for quite some
Quite
time.
some
but
time.
We go into houses all the time where they're removed or they're not maintained. They trip them from cooking and they remove the battery and disable them. We'll go in,
You can just turn it
probably
off.
30% of the houses we go in and the smoke alarm is removed from the subbase. They disconnect them.
But it seemed like if you had working smoke alarms, you'd hear them when you got to the fire. If you didn't hear them,
Yes and no. The problem is even getting there in 6 minutes, the fires are so hot, the smoke detectors are burned up because they're on the ceiling. Sometimes we do.
On the Drew's marijuana question, the living room source might also speak to marijuana,
Yeah, yeah.
rather than the bedroom, which I always think of the bedroom being somebody, having a cigarette, going to bed and.
or waking up in the middle of the night.
Or that.
I can reach out to the guy that gathers this data, or did before, Kyle Sabota, and ask him if they are going to filter that out.
Okay, it's a
And just
chunk.
see, because it does certainly make sense to ask that.
Chief, I asked them that same or similar question last year, and it was actually, many of them were actually seniors or people on oxygen in a recliner in the living room was where that comes from.
That's
So
what I
it
thought.
typically was smoking cigarettes, actually, not marijuana. And that may very well have changed this year, but it was, and so they were actually, especially in the Detroit area where they were seeing more of that, starting to do education at the hospitals on how to safely smoke with oxygen. As silly as that sounds.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Oxygen smoking.
All the time.
I've heard of
Right.
it.
And that sounds silly, but
But I've heard
if
of
they
it,
shut
yeah.
their tank off and put their mask down on the floor
Yeah.
away from them before they light the cigarette, they can usually prevent themselves from
Blowing up.
lighting themselves on fire, essentially. So,
Boy, you really want to smoke then, don't you?
I guess.
Well, the urge never goes away, they say, and it doesn't.
I know. All right.
So, moving on, you can see in the packet, I won't go over it, 9C, page 13, it just shows a breakdown on legal fees. If you have any questions on it, reach out to me anytime. IT equipment, Chris provided this for me. Our IT department has sold its company. We are looking into another one. Eric and Chris are working on it. So we have concluded that we're exploring options for a more local IT vendor
Yeah, good
that
idea.
could provide needed backup support, and that would be a little more user-friendly for us. Our current Office 365 and email accounts are not set up to meet government requirements for data backup and a number of things, virus protection, threat protection, so we need to change the way we're doing this, and that's what the guys are doing a tremendous job in their research. And actually, our current costs, it will go up like everything else. We currently paid $5,800 according to 2022 pricing, so we'll be into $7,700 and approximately a $1,900 annual increase. So there's also some one-time cost to migrate the system into another one. So there will be a cost increase on IT equipment and software updates.
Really need those. Really need those.
Grants, we received funds for our health and wellness grant, which is fitness equipment out in the back building. So it was nice to get that almost $27,000 check in our hands. Next item, I am really happy to share with you, we had a great orientation day with some of the Saugatuck City Council members. Helen, Greg Muncy, the mayor was here, and Ryan Cummins, who's the zoning administrator. It was extraordinary. The crew worked really hard to get the station tidy and organized, clean, and they gave us about an hour and a half of their time during the day. We did a great walkthrough and asked some really solid questions. We took them back to the live fire training center and just had a very good overall discussion on, you're trying to give them a snapshot of what we do in an hour and a half. It's not easy. But they were very attentive, very cordial, and very interested in it. So I really wanted to share that with you.
Good.
Does that replace what we talked about for what's gonna be a February event?
No, this was kind of, I think, perhaps the manager's idea of doing orientation day for the 2 new council members. To my knowledge, I think anybody was, welcome to come, other council members as well. But I had 3 of them, plus Ryan Cummins. So we're still gonna do something in February.
That's for all districts.
Right. Does that make sense? Okay. And then just a reminder, this Saturday is our appreciation dinner at Saugatuck Yacht Club. That concludes.
The cocktails on your boat or not?
We could do that in the storage building, yes. Bring your jacket.
Quite a ladder, I'm sure.
Yeah. And then a slide afterwards.
Perfect. Okay, there's no unfinished business, and we will move on to new business.
I won't go over this huge report, but the year-end report obviously is lengthy for a reason. You can go through it and formulate any questions you may have. Notable for you guys is, obviously, this is history. 1,023 calls, up about 6%. So major breakthrough in call volume. And there's nothing to be happy about breaking the 1,023 calls. What I'm proud of in our department, and I'll mention this again Saturday, is the fact that we never missed a call. We met every demand that was asked of us, and that's what this department should be proud of.
And how many calls did we have last year?
It was 964.
For what it's worth, I've noticed Grasco put their annual call number on their fancy lighted sign out front. We
can do that.
might
They have an updated software, we're working on that. They have a newer system.
I think yours is better than yours, honestly.
Yeah,
In terms of how it looks and how it reads, they got some crazy ass type style that's not helpful.
they got grant funds, not grant funds, they had American Recovery Act funds pay for that. Their township got a lot of money.
Their tax dollars at work.
Right. So, no, I like that too, because we have an older sign, kind of a tradition to change it, but I ran out of spaces because there were only 3 digits. Average response times, down 5:57, not much from 6:02. Other thing is overlapping calls, as you know, is a big concern. And we are at 34% of overlapping calls for 2022 compared to 29% in 2021. Falls, the most common part of our EMS response. EMS makes up 64% of our core call volume. MVIs, motor vehicle incidents, we ended up with 66 at the end of the year. Notable, no car accidents at Old Allegan and Blue Star. And that is a tribute to Saugatuck Township leadership for community risk reduction implementation of a traffic sign with lights that flash. And that has to be the determining factor. Doesn't mean we won't get an accident tonight or tomorrow, but we can tell you we didn't have anything for 2021. So they saw the data, they listened, they worked on a solution which included a flashing stop sign. So,
Now they gotta
Stacy,
change the
Eric?
now they gotta change the light bulb.
What is that? I was
Did you
gonna
notice
say,
it?
yes, and I asked Daniel, and they were doing it 2 weeks ago. I don't know what the holdup is. I'm gonna ask Daniel some more.
last thing is, Municipality-wise, township accounts for 436 calls, 44%, which is no surprise, you're the largest area that we have. Next on page 15, thank you, Chris. Bottom line, this is INFRS, a category, National Fire Incident Reporting System. Community participation and citizen concerns are combined into one category according to this tracking system, not ours, the nation's. There are very few citizen concerns in there. What I wanted to point out for you to share with your municipalities, 52 incidents, you've got a lot of special events in there. So the community participation is high, about 5%. That's what I wanted to point out. And that concludes that report. Last thing I have on that are grants. If you'd like to know that for 2022, grant team pulled in just under $100,000 in grants. Page 41. In a separate attachment, you have it all in your packets there now. Cost recovery for 2022 that we've recovered is a little over $26,000.
I'm going to ask you, on the cost recovery thing, how nasty can we be to try and up those numbers? I mean, if it was a private company, putting in a bill for whatever, $3,376 and getting nothing, or hearing nothing back, or it taking forever, or whatever, is something that, you send somebody to knock on the door.
So, it's a good point, Dan. What we did is we took this to legal. And legal was pursuing some of them. And legal said, this is really a misdemeanor, take it to the prosecutor. And I did. Some of them she's working on. But that's how long this has been going on. These would be commercial carriers.
Sure.
And sometimes they're in California and they just kind of thumb their nose at you. So we are trying to do it. The only other thing we could do is do cost recovery agreement with a company. Problem I had with that was their rates were substantially higher than what we charge, and I didn't feel it was fair.
I'm even wondering if, in the case of out of state, or if there isn't, could we simultaneously go to the state attorney general for California, or some other upstream, and it's basically a copy of the letter, that they've got a deadbeat, operation.
Let me find out from the prosecutor in Alton County what she would recommend, and then our lawyer.
I know a guy, I'm just kidding.
With a baseball bat.
Guido.
The Christmas Day, that one incident, Christmas Day, cost our department $3,400.
What happened?
Motor vehicle incident on the highway. And
And
then,
we've gone through this a lot. There's a fine line between taxpayers' dollars paying for what we do here and going beyond that, so.
and then we had to engage another fire department for signage, and then blocking off the on-ramp, because we had everybody out we could.
Yeah.
And it cost them $1,100. So that's why you'll see this one, number 25 down here is, that one, $4,400. So we get real frustrated at this as well.
Well, and again, part of the frustration is the vast majority are 196. And relatively few are local
Yeah.
constituents of the district.
Yeah, you can almost see the local ones because we've been paid.
Exactly, because they'd be embarrassed by it.
Right.
Or
Well,
whatever.
they do the right thing,
Yeah,
so.
that's why I say, I mean, to me, if there's a way to try and
Escalate
bring
the
embarrassment
enforcement.
on somebody in California or somebody wherever, even if it's the trucking company, I mean, I'd copy the American Trucking Association, or I'd copy anybody I could to hammer them. Because those are the people, you get farther upstream, those are the people that are worried about public image and funding and, legislative relationships and all the rest of this stuff. And if they've got, a bunch of deadbeat operations somehow under their jurisdiction, or at least.
Well, I asked MDOT on this last one that occurred Christmas Day, they hit the bridge, so I had to have the bridge inspected, so we had to bring in an engineer. And of course, shut down the roadway while he looked at it and tried to keep traffic flowing all the way over. And I said, hey, do you guys recuperate? He says, we just sue them, we just take them to court. And DOT, because they have railing that's damaged and a lot of expenses. But I will work on it. I'll see what else we can do to escalate this. Okay.
Okay, item B. Other business.
You talk about Christmas time, I opened up an envelope and there was a $10,000 check in it
Yeah, that was nice.
by a
That was nice.
local, by a resident.
Yeah.
It was for EMS only, and same person who donated $15,000 earlier in the year. So she actually they sent me an email today, and I have some correspondence to do with that person. She does not want her name revealed.
When somebody donates this kind of money, can they designate what they would like it used for? Is that what they do
Yes.
usually?
Some of them do, yes.
They're allowed to
This
do
was
that?
EMS, yes,
Okay.
for
This
emergency
can only be
medical
used for
services.
EMS, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I know what a stair chair is, but could you?
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah. A stair chair is a special chair we can take somebody who's not ambulatory, doesn't need to be in a cot, that we can get up and down the stairs safely. You can let it down the stairs because it has tracks on it, the right handles, it's designed right, and it comes with a price tag. There you go.
Well, we got it donated, so that.
We have moved people around we borrowed a stair chair, Riley told me about it. Last stair chair I borrowed from Hamilton Fire to move somebody around. And I've wanted one of these for probably 7 years.
I can
Finally,
see
we're
where
gonna get
that-
one.
I can see where.
You
this-
could get 5% off.
Yeah. Just try to get one. 6 weeks.
I can see where there was the black things or whatever treads go and how that'd work going downstairs.
It's like a refrigerator dolly with
Yeah.
tracks.
Yeah.
We've used them, they're a great tool, Stryker, the best equipment. And, if we do BLS, it's certainly gonna be right on the truck.
They got 5 in stock, let's get it going.
Yeah.
Plus you get 30 cents refurbished. Yeah, it's refurbished still.
I think we got it a little cheaper than that, because we can order straight through Stryker or down in
Oh.
Kalamazoo, so, but,
Yeah, you'll notice that's refurbished.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's not new.
It is certified refurbished.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
So,
And it's
like most of our AEDs were, so.
Okay.
Dan, worked on a media release for me, and I hope that'll be in the paper soon. Next up, interesting, I'll read this to you. I received an email from our mutual aid partner to the north, Graskup Fire Department. Chief Tim Bleicher sent me an email during our ISO audit, that's the insurance services offices that audits, they do surveys, discussed available water supply on the first assignment to a structure and determined it would be best to add a tanker response from Saugatuck to all of Fillmore Township that we cover. That was not the case in the past. So I'll be entering into an agreement to provide an additional tanker.
They don't have a tanker? Or
They do.
just need another?
They don't have enough water, they're upping the amount of water.
Oh, I got you.
So,
All right,
does
thank
that
you.
mean we're now gonna be taking care of fires in Fillmore Township?
We already do.
We already do? I
We,
didn't know that.
it's
We
just
go to
an
tr-
automatic aid agreement, we
Yeah.
aid the,
Okay,
They come to us and we go to them.
Okay, okay,
We could conceivably be called to Detroit
okay.
or the Upper Peninsula on a huge fire. We have a state of Michigan,
Except there's nothing in
Hey,
the Upper
agreement.
Peninsula that's worth all that.
Until we got up there, it'd be done.
a lot of grain barns and stuff, you know.
the big old prison.
Couple
I'll let you finish that conversation,
Yeah,
too.
really. Mhm. Okay, moving on, we have no correspondence, public comment, fire board comment. Drew?
No, everything was good to me. I was looking through the, I got a couple questions maybe to ask, and I looked through it some more and ask Peter, but otherwise, it was
Well,
fine.
Dan will be here eventually.
Yeah, he'll be here next time.
Okay, and Dan?
I had something and now escaped my limited memory.
We can come back to you. Eric?
No, just the reports are fantastic and
Yeah.
very useful for the municipalities to review, and it really helps.
Thank
know.
you. That's these guys.
Mhm.
Eric,
Mhm.
Chris, they all phenomenal.
You know what they say, too much information is better than not enough, so.
That was my comment as well. I just love this time of year when we get to see it. Just incredible, this.
I think when we started doing this, you know, it was maybe 3 or 4 documents.
Mhm.
And now it's expanding and, you know, we met with the township about emergency medical services and they asked for certain data. And Eric worked on that over the weekend. I gave him the assignment, said this is what I need, this is what they're looking for. And he's able to make this happen, so, you know, at least once a week, we're meeting with new types of data analysis. One of the ones, Eric, share with us the one about Grasco.
Yeah, I was approached by Chief DeBlaker, and he had a conversation with one of his board members and about their staffing levels, because the number of personnel in Grasco has gone down while their numbers, of course, shut up. They're just shy of 900 calls now, but they're down to 17 people, half of what we have. And when I analyzed the situation between our 2 apartments, the reason why we are doing so well is because of that room. Because we can have people outside our area come in, and we have a good example here.
It's that dorm room.
So we're benefiting from people from other departments that give a day or a night every week, and then every 5th weekend. So that's how we can keep our numbers up. Otherwise, we would have been in the same situation as Grasco.
Chief DeBlaker shared with me that he talked to some members of his board and the manager, and he said, the way it's going in another year, they'll have to be all full-time. There won't be any paid on call.
All right, so with that,
Okay? Okay, I remembered what.
okay, go ahead.
On the EMS group, planning group, have they
Oh.
met yet or not?
Wednesday.
That was gonna come right out of my mouth just right now.
I got a question when I updated, when I reported to the city council, they asked whether those meetings would be publicly noticed.
No,
They aren't, there's only one board member there, it's not a public meeting.
it's not a public meeting.
Remember, there's one more board member, yeah,
I'm not
Yeah.
arguing one way or the other.
No.
They're ad hoc committee
Yeah.
meetings and they're not public.
Who's the board member on?
Me.
Jen?
But it's not like we're making any major decisions. Once we
No, we're
get to
just
that.
gathering
No,
data.
Right, once we get to that
No, I
position, we
was there.
will.
I
Committee can't
watched,
make decisions.
they asked, and and I wrote that down, because other people have asked as well, and I said, this whole thing was about the doctors talking and people listening. It wasn't a Q&A at the time, it was, here's the way we interpret the data, here's our experience, what solutions, evaluate the current EMS system. And we wanted those 5 doctors to speak uninhibited without, political sensitivity or anything. We wanted to be, that was really the goal that Jane had. I don't mean to speak for you, but that's what I was kind of led to believe, that there'll be a time for it, but
We'll give periodic reports.
Yeah.
My feeling is, I want to collect data that's not interpreted by anybody. I just want information so that we can know what we're talking about. We can have answers to questions that people bring up. And I think it's important to just gather information without a lot of outside interference. And if the public comes to this meeting, then they're going to start interpreting them in the paper. I don't want the paper involved. I just want to hear the information, and then we'll give a report.
Well, maybe they think we're further along than what we really
Oh, no,
are.
we're not.
I know what I'm
Just
saying is
begun.
maybe the council members think we're further along.
Right. No,
And this is in its infancy, and they need to know that.
Well, and Dan can tell them that.
Because that's probably what they're doing, saying,
Could be, yeah.
are you guys gonna make your decision?
Well, I don't-
Well, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, I don't-
We're so far away from
We're not
that.
impulsive.
Yeah.
The doctor ad hoc planning committee meeting was really part of the phase of looking into this evaluation. We wanted to see what Chris's report concluded. Well, it looks like, we met with the township, and their concern is, what are you gonna do about the ALS that's 20 minutes and beyond? How are we gonna solve that? Well, we have those answers. We want to see what this committee, this body, what they have to say with some EMS professionals, some doctors. So it was really a meeting for them, per se, and there'll be a time where we can do this in public and have everybody, not that we have anything to hide, on the contrary. We just didn't want all the interruptions when there's some stuff they don't even know yet. They've never even seen some of the data we just did over the weekend. They'll get it tomorrow for the first time.
I do have a question. You're not posting it because it's a committee meeting, I understand that. But if somebody wants to come to a committee meeting, check this out, that you can stop them. Somebody from the public wants to come from the committee meeting.
You just don't tell them when it is.
Well,
Yeah.
true.
At
No,
somebody's
you
house
don't,
or
but somebody finds out about it, they may want to go to it.
I think what's
I think they
happening
have a right
here
to,
is,
yeah.
the city, and like you say on camera, are suspect of a few things, and they wanna know where we're at. That's all it is right now. We are totally transparent. This is in its before infancy. This is conception. So they
Well,
need to
it's for the
understand,
planning.
this could be a 3-year, 4-year process. It's already been 14 years that I've been on this board talking about this. So,
So I understand
nothing's gonna happen
their
quick.
questions. I could support it. We want to get another vantage point, this group of professionals. We want to get their input to help us, guide us which way. Are we on track? Everyone believes we are on track, but once we have their input, then we'll figure out which way we're going to go. So it's a strategy for planning that we have.
Well, I said before after Chris's presentation, I don't think this is gonna be a 7-member board decision. We all wanna go to the public and see what the hell they want.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Stacy's not making a decision for 6,000 people. We wanna hear their feedback.
Mhm. So we're just we're
Yeah.
collecting raw data.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
But
That has not even been reported out to the board.
no,
No,
Until there's something
yeah.
on the table, there's really not a lot of point.
No,
I'm sure there's some rumblings in the community that, hey, this is what they want. It always happens.
I don't know that it's so much that, I mean, I'm trying to speculate from the council standpoint. I just think the whole area is of high and arguably increasing interest, because guess what? I've had my first fall. I mean, people are getting older, and the average age in Saugatuck is probably now approaching 60, if not over 60. So any of these, you know, anything in this area becomes a matter of interest to them, and I'm sure, you know.
That's interesting, because Greg and I just discussed that as part of this committee, as the aging population and the shrinking population in the community.
Right.
The communities are becoming seasonal rentals.
I was gonna say,
There's no stopping that trend.
Wintertime, the average age is probably well north of 60.
Maybe not, because they leave.
No, I'm saying the ones that are here.
Right. So that's another thing to talk about, think about, decide what we need to do about. But we're just collecting data. That's all we're doing right now. And I'd like it to be not interrupted by outside influences. I just want to hear what the doctors have to say. Then we want to hear what somebody else has to say. And
Well, I tried to make that point at the council meeting, that the quote-unquote committee would morph over time as different different sources of expertise. I use, you know, vehicle manufacturers or who the hell knows what. You'd want to understand that, whatever, and the same kind of deal. I don't know that that's.
Well, we might bring in the ALS agencies.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
We have to understand the
Right.
ALS agencies.
Right.
and
Well, I
what
can
they
see the
do.
concern by the community members showing up to ask questions.
Yeah, they're very
Once
concerned.
again,
You just-
here we go.
Yeah.
My sarcasm is shining out.
So, yeah, we're gonna start, and it's gonna be a long process, and it's gonna be a very informed process when we get done, I hope. That's my goal, is to gather all the information, share it with the public. You can do this, you can do Plan A, you can do Plan B, you can do a Plan C, you can do a combination. This is what we have to offer. You decide, because it comes right out of your wallet. So that's where we're going with this. And with that, where are we? I will call for an adjournment if there's no other board discussion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll support. Okay, Beckman, Aldrich, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
We're out of here.